This is the weekly reading for the week of 15th of August. The first card that comes up is that of Ganesha obstacles. This card says that this week, obstacles which have been in your path for some time now will be removed one way or another. You will find you can suddenly overcome them, or somebody else moves them aside, or whatever it may be. I think this has something to do with Saturn having moved direct this weekend. So what was holding you back because you needed to perhaps see things from a different perspective or try a new avenue, that path has now been walked, you've done and dusted, and now you can actually move forward again. So for many of you that have come up against something that has stopped you from moving forward in your projects, even your love life, whatever it may be, this week you're going to see that obstacle removed and you will be able to move forward. The other card that comes up is that of being whole again. So it's interesting these two coming up together, because this speaks again about you have the opportunity to walk through the other side of old wounds. In other words, something that has perhaps shadowed you for a long time and you're not even all that aware of it. Now you can actually overcome that and move forward in life. So these cards definitely have something to do with one another. And it's not always a case of recognizing what that old wound was and that right now you've overcome it and you can move forward. You've possibly been working away at it on another level that you're not even consciously aware of, and now you can move through that. But always, always, always when one deals with old wounds, when it's done, when it's healed, when it's dusted, you'll be surprised at how fast and how big your forward movement is. You're going to see that coming up later in your reading again. Then for week one, I'm getting myself entangled in my thoughts here. For Monday and Tuesday, in the love sector of your reading, the marriage card, the wedding card comes up. So this has to do with your long-term partnerships and relationships. I think some of you are going to get wedding proposals this week, with marriage proposals, definitely. Others of you, your focus, your attention is going to be on a committed partnership or relationship. That is where the energies will be busy and surrounding you this week. For others of you, somebody's about to appear in your life or play a more important part in your life that has something to do with long-term commitment. Then the card that comes up in your general forecast for Monday and Tuesday is that of good news. You're about to receive some kind of good news. So perhaps something that you've been trying to lift off the ground, suddenly you get the go-ahead, or even out of the blue good news that you weren't expecting. You gave up on something a long time ago and someone says, guess what, we do want to do it. So some kind of good news is now coming in. Once again, when Saturn turns direct, he often delivers a reward, shall we say, for having done your homework, for having done the work you were supposed to do during the retrograde. So for those of you that were persistent, you persevered, you kept the faith, you kept your humor right, and you just plodded along at what you were doing, knowing that eventually it had to go somewhere. With a good attitude, you're going to be seeing the reward this week. You definitely are. Then on Wednesday and Thursday, the worth waiting for card shows up again. This card lives in the reading at the moment, doesn't it? This week the message feels a bit different. This seems to be about divine timing more than anything else this time. So I think it's been hanging around this card for a few weeks now because it is about the timing needing to be just right. And if you read the blurb that comes with this card in a little booklet, it speaks about not only your divine timing, but the divine timing of the partner that you're supposed to be meeting up with or doing something with. And that those two times are not always in sync, and they need to be for this particular partnership, love relationship in this case, to go ahead. So something is still not quite in sync yet, but it's just about there. I think I said that last week as well, but this is obviously still continuing. Something still has to line up. I had a feeling that Saturn needed to go direct for this to happen. So it could be that now, once it's moved direct, you're going to see some kind of forward movement in a partnership or relationship that perhaps hadn't moved forward and it kind of gone into a bit of a stasis. And for those of you that have been waiting for someone, I think this week you're going to see discernible forward movement in whatever it is. That person may approach you, you may literally bump into them, physically bump into them one way or another, but there's some kind of tangible forward movement this week as yet another piece of timing falls into place. That's the message I'm getting with this card. Then the general forecast for Wednesday and Thursday. This speaks about letting go of the hamster wheel, of the comfortable same route that you always take. Trusting your intuition and taking perhaps a new path or a new perspective or a new angle on what you are doing. With the knowledge that it may not work out perfectly. This card actually says that how do you learn to dance if you never make missteps or stand on someone else's toes? By accident, of course. But it is that kind of feeling. So trust your intuition. There's this big moon and owl in the picture. And that angel, fairy, whatever she is, has her head down as if she's looking inward for guidance. So that's the thing to do. And when you get that spark of guidance come Wednesday, Thursday, follow it. You're not going to know where it's leading you, but it is leading you somewhere in particular. And it's maybe not a destination. It's an experience or a new tool that you need to be working with. Okay? That's the message coming through there. That's kind of interesting. I'm curious to see what that is. Then Friday and the weekend. In the love sector of your reading, the retreat card comes up. So those of you in permanent partnership and relationships, long-term relationships in other words, do yourselves a favor and see if you can get a bit of time out together. Go and have a picnic in a really quiet place. Go lie in a hammock somewhere together. Switch off your cell phones, switch off your tablets, your iPhones, all those gadgetry things. Try and get a bit of just quiet, relaxing time together. When these cards come up, this is saying to you that should you do this in this weekend, or the weekend that follows the 15th, that it will restore and heal you in a big way and make a big difference. It's obviously that the energies are in place for this kind of thing to really be constructive and productive at the moment. So see if you can do that. For those of you that are looking for partnerships and relationships, spend a little bit of quiet time by yourself, relax, unwind, chill, because it's in the quietening of your frequency, of your energy field, that you're going to be putting some energy out there that will attract something really nice into your life, or the way it attracts into your life is going to make a big difference too. And that message comes through strongly now, right? The way you start off a relationship is very important. The kind of energy that you place out there and that person is attracted to and they move into your life actually sets the precedent down the line. To get into depth into that, wow, that's hours of talking. But just know that if you move into a relationship when your energy is quiet and calm and relaxed, it sets a totally different tone for a relationship. Okay? Then your general forecast reading for Friday and the weekend. I think that retreat quiet time also relates to this, because the Two of Winter, which is actually the Two of Swords, to me is always the card of your heart wants one thing and your mind wants another. And because both are equally strong in us, you reach stalemate. You can't make a forward movement, because if you go with your heart, your mind is going to ride your case. And if you go with your mind, your heart's going to be sorely disappointed. So it is literally a stalemate. Doreen Virtue's deck, this one, says to go with what you know is right for you. Try and block out other people's opinions and thoughts, belief systems for a while, just a while you make this decision. Pretend that nobody else has any input or will be affected by what you do for a moment, and then think how you would make your decision. And once you've done that, Go back to putting all the other people back into the scenario and see if you don't come up with a different idea or a different way or a more sure feeling in your heart and your mind of how to go about or why you're making the decision you're making. But a bit of quiet time on the weekend will get you there. I think most of us are going to be facing this kind of decision by the end of next week, by the weekend. A heart versus mind decision. Never an easy one. If you would like a reading so we can have a look into that, you can contact me at theoracletimes@gmail.com or through the website. The links which are in the owl picture which follows the next 3 cards in the reading, I will remind you again when we get there. Then the guidance for the week says waterfall or effortless. So the message that came through with this card is if you let go of the resistance and you move forward without resistance, you will meet far less, if any, resistance at all. So that's going to play out differently for each of you in your lives, but that's the message. So go forward with less resistance and you will meet less resistance. Okay? Then the next card says that basically suddenly life is going to make this leap forward. So it's as if you've been up against a shut gate and pushing and nothing's happening, and suddenly that gate gives way and you go rushing forward. So it's going to be that kind of energy coming in this week, but it's good forward momentum and it's a sudden leap forward, which is always great. Then the sanctuary card comes up, and that's quite interesting, having gotten that retreat card as well. So in the midst of everything, the decisions and this forward movement, all these things can be exhilarating, but also they take a little bit of a stress on our systems. This card is saying that you can find a moment of respite and a moment of quiet, and often it helps to go within yourself to do that, in other words, to meditate or pray. It also helps to go and find a place where you can get that kind of peace and quiet, because if you can draw into your heart center and you can just be there for a while in peace and quiet, you will find that sanctuary. And when you find that sanctuary, it's amazing how suddenly you get these epiphanies of perhaps even how to make that decision between your heart and your mind, or know how to get to do something you haven't been able to do for a while because you've come up against too much resistance. So that's something to keep in mind this week. Right, so I will just remind you once again, if you would like a personal or private reading, we can take a look at these incredibly interesting energies for you this week. You can contact me at theoracletimes@gmail.com or through the website. You'll see the web addresses for both are on this owl picture. Right, people, I hope you enjoyed that reading. Thank you very much for watching and listening.